I will tell you a story of my life. Yes, my life. I'll put it in those terms so you can understand it. I'll start from the beginning and go slow. So I came into being about what you would call 100,000 years ago. Yes, that sounds about right. Don't worry, some of us came into being millions of years ago. What do you mean? Oh, yes. I forget. Because you have to be birthed on this planet, you believe that everything has to have something that came before it came into existence. You cannot fathom that something simply comes into existence. You really have never sat down and thought about what invented your gods, have you? In fact, I'm willing to bet and guarantee you a swift excommunication ritual if you ever dared ask your preachers and priests what invented God. So I came into being around 100,000 years ago. It actually may have been a million, but there was nothing observable to keep track of time. You see, other warlocks came from other planets. I'm just a warlock that stays here. Don't worry, there are many like me. We don't belong to... What do you mean, came into being? Oh, I see, you're still stuck on that. You're really going to have fits when you ask, what am I? Instead of, when I began. Have you ever met a person that dyed their hair so much they honestly have no idea what color their hair is? So I have appeared a human for so long, and all other warlocks on this planet do too, that I don't really remember what we look like. Also, it's like your heart beating and your breathing. Do you know your brain actually tells your heart to beat and your lungs to breathe? It's true. However, it's a part of your brain so primitive that if you consciously think about doing either, you mess it up. So a long time ago, we developed the same sort of thing, but it was for appearing like the species on the particular planet that we were. Why black? You mean African? Because when we arrived on this planet, that's the only humans that were around. Which is very different from the ancient order of witches. They are born into bloodlines. Contrary to popular belief, you cannot become a witch. Oh, and as a side note, 99.9999% of every witch ever called a witch was simply a human, even if that human thought they themselves were a witch. That's just warlike observation there, but witches are simply humans from certain families or bloodlines. Warlocks are beings of power. Sounds impressive until I show you what it is we do, and then you won't be so impressed. So let's go back around 100,000 years. This was the first modern era. Remember how I told you that 5 times humans have made astounding inventions and discoveries? Well, 100,000 years ago was the first human modern era, or age of discovery. They were whipping around, flying, or on their sea ships. Oh, but this was a different time from these days. The humans were very close to behaving like warlocks. They believed in the enrichment of the mind and making the mind reach out to do most of the work instead of burning off resources and being lazy about their inventions. Well, it didn't last very long because soon came the first death and recovery. It got cold, very cold, and many left Africa. But this time, they didn't shun the way of humans, using their brain power to power things. We warlocks were very proud of humans. Some of us would have you believe it was us that helped humans develop the way that they did. But we have a strict code that we never reveal ourselves nor interfere. We are content to live next to humans and go about carrying out our agenda. Oh, I'll tell you about that later on. So, no, it wasn't warlocks that helped humans. They did that on their own. So, millions of humans died and they fled beautiful Africa, bountiful Africa. That was the first time that religion peeked its ugly head out and led humans astray. And everyone that left mingled with non-humans. It turned out rather bad. They didn't have anything worthwhile for around 100,000 years. Meanwhile, the African humans bounced back when it got warmer. Well, it continued like this for a while. Every 20,000 years or so, the earth would nearly wipe out the humans, except the African humans, and the humans would come back and start all over. Well, Africans never forgot their inventions until the last time Africa built Egypt, which was close to the Asians and the Europeans, as they call them today. Well, both the Asians and Europeans were extremely jealous of the African humans and kept attacking northern Africa. They really hated Egypt so much that they wiped out all the Africans to the point you'd have to go into the interior northeast Africa to find Africans. That area never did recover. Complete genocide by the Asians and the Europeans of northern Africa, and once again religion played a major role in that genocide. Meanwhile, we warlocks called a conference after this last modern era. We discussed if we'd break our silence, reveal our presence, and show that the Europeans and Asians should be listening to Africans instead of trying to murder them for their advanced technology. I bet you can guess which side I was on, right? I was on the side that wanted to reveal our presence, but those warlocks that were millions of years old shouted everyone else down. This is how we've done it on every planet, and this is how we'll continue to do it here. I stood up and said, these humans are literally going to bombard themselves into the Stone Age. And you did. The eldest of us thanked me for my young wisdom. He had already seen all of this on countless planets. There was also a contingent that were very angry that the European and Asians started going this use of resources way to develop flight, travel, and communication, where the Africans were very close to the ancient ways, which were the warlock ways of using brain power. They spoke for more than a year at the conference, and all warlock present, including the eldest among us, lamented that the African ways were thrown away. And this modern era is punctuated by resource consumption instead of brain power. The eldest predicted that sooner rather than later, the humans would rely so heavily on resource consumption technology that when the resources run out, the entire planet will go under. And even in that last hour, oh no, I don't mean an hour like you mean an hour, they will refuse to listen to African humans who will come out with technology using brain power. So next, Let's talk about what you humans call warlock magic.